Hey, everybody in the Business Growth Hub. We are live, and this is a bit of an impromptu live with Jamie Stenhouse. And we talked about doing this last week. And yeah, it's 6:30 in the UK. It's 4 p.m. in Oz for Jamie. And I'm going to bring him in now, and then we'll go into this live. So, hey, Jamie, have you got me?
Hello, how are you?
Hey, really good. Thank you. I've just done a little introduction as I was messing around with connecting up. So brought you into the street now. I've just said that it's really early in the UK here, 6:30, but being a morning person, not a problem for me. And 4 p.m. for you. So yeah, a little bit more of a working day for you left, and then you can shut off. So really appreciate you being here in the group. And you were recommended to me by Todd Foster. I'll give Todd a shout out, and yeah, I'll tag him too. But we had an amazing chat, and you just kind of blew my mind with some of the things that you were saying and things that I thought about. I thought about many times, but you just don't implement. You know what I mean? And you made it so simple, and you drew it out on the screen, and the systems that you've got in place. We'll talk more about the stuff that you offer later on, but yeah, you're obviously an Oz, and I'd like you to go into your backstory and tell me a bit, because you've been online for many years now. You must have started when you were like 8, I think, because you're like 18, 25 now, something like that. So
Thank
yeah,
you, thank you.
if you wouldn't mind just going into your backstory, that's incredible.
Yeah, sure. So I started online when I was 17, 18, begun in the affiliate marketing space, and then quickly moved into graphic design. And I begun because I couldn't get a job, essentially. And the
Nice.
intention was to either continue trying to get a job or do some freelancing work and try to put off getting a real job for as long as possible, right? So I
Yeah.
begun when I was 18. I got a graphic design client that led into a landing page, I think, at the time, and that kind of grew from there. And over the years, I've had a number of different companies, all linked to the online space,
Wow.
and then. I mean, I've been doing this for about 11, 12 years, and in about probably two-thirds through my journey up until this point, I discovered that, hey, I can somewhat clone myself into team members and hire other people to be doing the work for me. And that shift really happened in 2014 as I started to create my agency as it is now. And yeah, I mean, that's sort of like a very glossed overview, but essentially I started doing the work on my own for years. I was
Yeah.
doing different types of projects and jobs, and then I learned how to hire and learn how to build processes. And then from there, I started to travel quite a lot every single year. So that forced me to hire people to take over the company for me as I was traveling. And yeah, it's kind of snowballed from there. And now we have a team of 18, I would like to say, all over the globe, from UK, Japan, America, Indonesia, Australia as well. And they help me to do the things that we do for our clients or even for our actual programs as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love it. And yeah, I think people that get involved in the online space and the affiliate marketing space in particular think that they're told by the gurus, you can do everything, you can start up for minimal costs and things like that. It's so easy. And actually, yeah, some people succeed doing that, but they burn out really quickly because you're not a graphic designer yourself. You're
Mm.
not a copywriter. You're not a salesperson. So choose your strengths, and someone else can, where you're challenged, someone else can do that for you. So I think what you've done is absolutely phenomenal. So here's a question for you then. Do you want to build, you've already got a kind of legacy, but do you want to build a multinational corporation with staff and people that you hire and offices and all that kind of stuff? Or are you just kind of keeping it, happy to keep it at a certain level because it works for you and your personal life?
So, in terms of having an in-house team, I have looked at that, and I haven't seen any upside to that. However, I've been very fortunate that I've got friends in my hometown who are also doing online stuff as well, online campaigns for either their own products or products of the actual client. So, between the years of 2018, I think even 2017, all of us hired a huge floor space, and it was just all of us friends hanging out. Although we were doing different companies, each of us had our own online teams, right? So it was kind of like that in-house corporate environment with friends, but our teams were online. So I have had that, and that's been incredible. In terms of having my own, I guess, global brand with an in-house team and something I can step away from, not yet. Potentially, if the right opportunity presents itself, of course, but currently it is not on the horizon, no.
That's incredible. I started looking in the online space about 9-10 years ago, 2010 I think it was, and I went to a small town in the UK called Peterborough. I don't know how many people know that place, but I watched somebody on stage. He was similar age to you, he looked about 12, and I was like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. But I didn't take it forwards because my life was in turmoil at the time. I was separating from my ex-wife and all of that kind of thing. So didn't take it forwards. And I've got loads of folders now on my computer from 10 years ago. And I'm like, wow. But I tell you who was on the stage, Russell Brunson.
Oh, wow. There you go.
It was phenomenal. And that's where I think that question comes from, because obviously he didn't have ClickFunnels back then. He didn't have a lot. And he'd been in the online space a long time and creating stuff. So he's obviously moved off in his direction now, $160 million plus dollar corporation. And that's why that question, I was thinking, your systems really work, and they could scale to something where you've got teams all over the world and offices all over the world. But, it's hard work, and yes, the money's great, but for me, it's becoming more about lifestyle too. So yeah, I love that answer. Love it.
Yeah.
The next question I was going to say is, have you had challenges that you've had to overcome in your online businesses and in your business space? Now, when I was invited to meet you online, in your invite, it says, I have a stutter, get over it, and we'll get through it. So that's clearly a challenge. It's the elephant in the room that people don't want to talk about maybe, and don't feel comfortable. But I feel fully comfortable because you've embraced it. It hasn't held you back. So I don't know. Part of me wants to say, yeah, let's not talk about the stutter, because that's not a challenge really, because you've overcome it already. But if you want to talk about that, great.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to talk about something else that's been a challenge in your online or business or personal life, we'll go personal if you want. But what challenges have you had to overcome?
God, look, I think the largest one was my speech. It isn't so much anymore. I do still have it, but I've got it in my control rather than out of my control. And that's the reason why I started online, is because I couldn't find a job that allowed me to not speak. I look for them, they're not out there. So okay, well, I need to learn how to earn income from behind my keyboard. So that's what pushed me into the actual online realm as well. And then it wasn't until about 6 years into my entrepreneur journey that I really got my speech sorted, and I actually begun practicing it. So for the first 6 years, I was capped in terms of the clients I could take on, the actual income, hiring. Like, I was very limited for my speech. And it took years and a lot of work to get it to where it is now. So I would say that would be the main one. And like, it didn't have to take that long. It's just I was, trying to push through it, trying to ignore it as opposed to address it properly. So that would probably be the largest one. And it's like what everyone says. It's like, as soon as you get out of your own way, however that is, for myself, it was like speech. For some people, it could be, a partner, could be something else happening as well, could be a career change. So like, it's something that slows us down. And as soon as you remove the initial thing, you start to find other things that then slow you down too, right? So it's always a constant, I guess, a dance of trying to clear the paths, walk forward, clear it again. But for me, speech was a huge one. And there's an old Stoic saying, something along the lines of impediment to action advances the action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Which simply means the obstacle, the thing you're avoiding, is the thing you should be doing. And for me, it's like avoiding to speak in terms of like, like avoiding interviews, avoiding sales calls, avoiding content videos, avoiding interviews. Everything that falls in the realm of speaking, I would avoid. And it wasn't until I stepped into that things really started to get traction.
Yeah, I love that. And what I was going to say was, Gary V says, go check out video number 1. I sucked. I was awful, going back to in the day when he started Vayner Wine or whatever it's called, and Empathy Wines or whatever. And do you go back over old videos or old audios and think, oh my God, look how far I've come?
So I did feel there was this one clip that I wish I didn't delete, but I did because I was like, I know, annoying, right? But at the time, I was trying to film a opt-in video to an ebook, and this was like when I was 24, so I was still in the heat of my speech, and I thought I could just push through it. And it was like a 90-second opt-in video. If you want to learn XYZ, put email, hello, so on and so on. I think we did like 83 takes, and none of them were usable. And I was like, that's it, I'm done. So then I didn't try again for about 2 years, for about a year and a half, and then I seek some actual professional help, and that helped out a lot. And they did an interesting recording where it was they filmed me on the first day speaking. I was pretty clunky, but I was able to push through it, and then they filmed me on the last day of their actual speech course, and the difference is just incredible, right? So then I've got that old first day video. I've got some old interviews laying around, and I look at it, and it is a blend of cringe, but not because of what's happening, but because of I guess what was going through my head at the time and how much of a large deal I thought it was, and all this other stuff, right? So so I don't have anything from the olden days, but I have some oldish kind of stuff on my actual speech journey.
I want to ask some kind of fun questions as well as business questions.
Yeah, sure.
So, do you have a favorite book? Is there anybody that a book that's drastically changed your life?
There's a lot. There's probably one that I suggest the most, and I've read the most, and these two go hand in hand. These are actually signed copies from the author himself. One is The Obstacle is the Way.
Nice. That's on my list. Yeah.
Signed by Ryan as well, I'm very proud to say. And the other one that I read, I don't know, maybe 40-something times, like I was tracking how many times I was actually going through it, is Ego is the Enemy. And the reason I like these two is because they go hand in hand, but they talk about opposite topics. So Obstacle was very much about the things outside of you that are in your way. As Ego is the Enemy is about removing the internal blocks that are in your way, right? So those two textbooks, handbooks have been critical to, I guess, not so much immediate change, but more so identifying things that need to be changed, right? So, and I feel like as soon as you're able to identify a problem and then understand the cause, it's very easy to correct that, right? So these two books have always just been on loop over the last 5-6 years, I think. And the other one is The War of Art. Yes. The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Commonly mistaken with The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Stephen Pressfield is a genius. The fact that he was able to pin down what prevents so many creatives, artists, entrepreneurs from actually fulfilling their dreams is incredible. So those three books, Art of the war of art.
War of art. Yeah.
Ego is the enemy, and also obstacle is the way.
Nice.
Those three
I haven't got any of those three. So I'm going to put them. The obstacle is the way has been on my list for a while. So yeah, I'm going to make a point of getting those. But somebody's jumped on the call. I can't see who it is. So, feel free to ask questions that we can throw at Jamie, and glad to have you here. If you want to drop, let us know who it is and drop questions, then fantastic. And those on the replay, please show some love and connect with Jamie, because he's an awesome dude, and we will put contact details out at the end. But excuse me. So let's talk about your business then, because I want to dive into that, because it is a phenomenal business model that everybody needs to follow, because you can't do it all yourself. And if you want to treat a business like a 2-bit, really cheap business, then it will always be a cheap business. If you want to invest in your business, then obviously, you've got to learn what your strengths are and play to those strengths, and then outsource or do something with the challenges that you have. So tell me about the business model that you have, because like I say, when we first talked, it blew me away. So just let the audience know what it's all about.
Awesome. So essentially, I've tried to create something that makes my life easy, and that is the overarching theme. Is that how sort of can I create things that are easy for me to enjoy, experience, and sort of have. Right. So I've got my agency. I've had that for a number of years. As I said before, I used to have a second agency. I sold that last year while in Greece, which is pretty cool. And then I've got the actual agency, and then I've got our actual consulting program. And each of those two have been created on sort of processes, systems, protocols, and everything is outsourced. If that be the client work, the graphic design, content creation for myself, online ads, client support, everything has been designed to be outsourced and not to a single individual. So I think what makes my approach a little bit more unique is that we're scaling on systems rather than the team and the individuals. As a lot of growth hackers, a lot of leadership books and growth books are all about, hiring really good people, A players, paying them well, incentivizing them, all of that. I went the opposite track and just, rather than attach our growth to individuals who we rent, let's really process everything out to a micro degree so that anyone off the street can come on and do graphic design for us, online ads, content creation. And that way, we're not reliant on who we have driving the processes. We're just reliant on the processes themselves.
Right.
So it's a very inverse approach to growth. And when you look, what's a really good test of like doing processes is going on holiday for 3 months every single year. Something that I've been blessed and very much grateful to be able to do pre-COVID, of course. So from 2015, 16, 17, and 18, I took off 3 months every single year, and I was able to step away from the agency, not because of the team, although they're great, because of the processes that then we had, right? Yeah. And when you design a sort of company on processes, you're not reliant on any individual, as I said, which means if you need extra horsepower in the engine, then all you need to do is clone that process, hire anyone and plug them into that slot into your actual production line, and they should be generating the same outcome as the other person as well, right? As usually, as you're hiring for talent, as you're hiring for, creativity, experience, expertise, these things are never the same from person to person. But with processes, you can literally copy and paste the same process from person to person, and they will all be producing the same result. Now, if they're not, then that's an indication that your processes have room for, interpretation, creativity, assumption, and you want to remove that unpredictability as much as you can from your company.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. If anybody picks anything up from this live and from this, recording, then look at the systems and the processes, because we are the bottleneck, and typically a lot of marketers online now have a daytime job. So, you know, for me, I've got an IT consultancy, I've got properties, I've got other stuff, other businesses, you know, trade the stocks and things like that. So, and I'm a single dad. So for me, there's a lot going on in my life. And when we spoke, you know, it was clear that I needed to put processes in place just to alleviate that. And I can't remember if I mentioned at the time, but I've just picked up Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week. And I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense. Like you've just said, if you could take 3 months off, and actually 3 months, I could live anywhere around the globe. And that's the idea. Is doesn't matter where you are. If the processes are in place, you can just dive in every now and then things are still ticking along in the background, and you just orchestrate. That's the point, isn't it? You're the conductor of the orchestra. So absolutely love that. Okay, so the next question is there a typical working day for you?
So essentially, I try to do the most important things possible and the things that get the highest return on my time back. And usually, as I've discovered, that is usually either sales calls or creating processes. So for every hour I put into my team, I usually generate about 3 to 4 hours returned in either free time or recurring team output each week. Right. So, for example, I will be creating a process probably tomorrow afternoon, and you know it might take me 3 hours, but I know that will probably free up about 28 hours in the future. Right. So I'm constantly looking for things that I am doing routinely. I then build processes around that to actually create free time, and then as I have that free time, I see what else calls on my attention now that I have that free time. Right. So then I'll handle that task. I'll then figure it out. I'll then create a certain process and I'll hand off that as well. And that's pretty much what I'm trying to do, is just trying to create a more predictability as much as possible as we take on new clients, as we push into new industries, trying just to create additional processes. And if it's not that, then it's either on calls. That's pretty much it. Either just doing calls or creating processes.
Nice, love it. This evening in my group, I'm going live, and I've put out an event called EQ versus IQ and how your mindset plays into your business. So I'm going to do a live on that and a presentation, and yeah, it's going to go one of the modules into my program that we've talked about as well. So it's going to go in there because it's absolutely critical. You know, not everybody it has a massive IQ and academic and intelligent with, you know, lots of degrees and things like that. That might be important for certain roles. You know, for a doctor, for example, they have to go through that college education to learn everything. But you know, EQ was founded, like, I think it was 1995, where they started talking more about your emotional quotient and how that plays into everything that we do. And yeah, so I'm going to talk about that later on this evening. And I think it's absolutely critical, like you say, it's putting processes in place is much smarter than trying to work everything out yourself. And somebody intelligent would think, okay, let's work everything out, I'll do it myself. But actually the intelligent part is the being in touch with your emotions and understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are. So yeah, love that. Awesome. Another fun question then, how would your friends and family describe you?
Very intense, I would say. I definitely have been quoted as someone who is very intense, someone who is somewhat of an extremist in the sense that, you know, if I'm doing 3 months of just project clients, then I'm usually on calls from 4:30 a.m. to...
We got some feedback there, Jamie. We got some feedback. I don't know where that's from. Hang on a sec. Let me just turn this off in case it's me. I don't know if it's my iPad, but ow, that's hurting. Is it your end, my end?
Is that okay, or?
No, it's really bad. Can you not hear that? Ouch. Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. That's odd. No. Not sure.
Let me try some steps.
I've moved everything away from my end, and ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah, it's definitely your end because you're doing something and it's helping. Yeah, it's gone. Oh no, it's back.
How's that?
No, it's still there, and you've gone really quiet. So
hang on, I'm just playing with the
No, we might have to end this. You're virtually, I can't hear you at all now. The feedback's gone, but can't hear you.
Hang on.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, that's all good.
I don't know what was going on.
How odd.
Technology.
Okay.
We're back. Anyway, so
what was
intense.
your question? Sorry. Yeah, so they're very much intense and very much a extremist in the sense that if I'm going to do something, I'll do it to the 10th degree.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of I will put a lot of energy, time, and resources into it.
Right.
In sort of a very condensed down timeline, right? So for example, if I'm traveling and if I'm taking off some time, I'll take off 3 months, and that will be, like completely intense offline time. And then I will also try to do as much as I can in that time, as opposed to, a casual 2-week period. So it's like very intense periods. If I'm say training for sport, or say training for Thai boxing, or just at the gym, it's like usually really intense periods for a very long time. So I would say intense and somewhat of a extremist in a good way.
Nice. It's a good trait to have, I think. Okay, so we'll go to one final question then. And in the online space, there's a lot of people that aren't always, I don't know, they don't have your best interests at heart. And there's a lot of people that are obviously clearly just out for the money. And what are 2 or 3 things that hack you off in the online space?
I suppose the would you say hack me off, you said?
Yeah.
I've never heard that phrase before.
Have you not? Sorry, piss you off.
That's better. Fair enough. Look, I think the largest one for me is repurposing ideas. And I know everyone does that, and I fall guilty to it as well sometimes. However, like repurposing someone's entire IP, or maybe 3 or 4 people's IP together. And I get that, they might be able to explain it a bit more clear, a bit more clearer with a bit more concisement and all that. But it's like, I think for myself, because I class myself as an artist first. Like I begun in, graphic design, and I had a clothing company I sold years ago as well. So I very much consider myself a artist first. And I like the art of, creating online programs that then generate change in how someone sees the world and how they are able to build processes, right? So I know for that, all of that came from my own experience, like I haven't gone through Tim Ferriss's, 4-hour book at all, like I haven't learned this stuff from reading, like it's first-hand experience. And I think what annoys me the most is people who teach things not from first-hand experience, but from things they've learned from other people. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if their clients get results. However, that's something that kind of annoys me because it takes away, I guess, the artistic flair of someone who is a coach or someone who is a trainer, right? So that would be the first one. I guess the other one is leading people astray in terms of giving them directions that might not be the most helpful to serve your own objectives, if that be, to fill your pipeline, close more sales, or do X, Y, Z, right? And I don't see that as much because people are clued on a lot. But I used to hear it a lot in like 4 or 5 years ago of like, someone who, enrolled into this program and it wasn't that good for them. Like for myself, I was 21, 22, I think, at the time. And I had a sales rep from Tony Robbins close me into their high-end program. And the program, nothing against Tony, but the program was just so outdated. Like I was ahead of the content they were teaching, and I shouldn't have been sold into that, right? It's like, but, I was sold something just to support that sales rep, quota, right? So, I think it is a blend of people not creating their own ideas because that takes longer. It's sort of harder to sell. You have to really practice your art before you sell it for years. However, if you can do that, you come out the other side as a much more congruent trainer, coach, for than your peers under you. And then also selling things to people you shouldn't be selling to, I guess, as well.
I love those answers, and I'm totally on board with them, can resonate with those, because the amount of people that pitch me all the time, and sometimes I think I'm not your ideal avatar, your ideal customer, and ideal client, because you haven't done your homework up front. You just want the sale, and then there might be a money back guarantee, but I'm unlikely to want that back, because I'll feel like, yeah, the program's okay, but I got benefit from it, but it's not for me. So love those answers. Thank you so much. Okay, then. So where can I really appreciate your time, and
that's
this
okay.
has been amazing. So for people watching the replay, hopefully they got some massive benefit from this, and systemize. That's the message that comes out of this, you know, and hook up with Jamie and learn what he's doing, because he's done it for many years now, and he's speaking from experience. So how can people find you online, Jamie?
Probably the easiest approach would be just to go to jamiestenhouse.com would be the easiest one. The other alternative is to add me as a friend on Facebook, like I'm a normal guy. Like I'm happy to talk processes all day. I would say those two platforms are the ones that work the best.
I really appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. Mine's just beginning, unfortunately, going to my client's site to do my day job. But yeah, so happy to see you again, and I'll catch up soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Take care, man.